we are taking a trip down memory lane here on this episode of Off Trail with Luke and Chandler. I'm Luke.
I'm Chandler.
And this is Off Trail. You know, we've done a lot of episodes of this podcast, and we've never done something like what we want to do now.
Yeah.
You know, we're not out here to discuss some controversial topic or, you know, philosophize on the meaning of life. We're just going to, like, reminisce a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
I
and
like reminiscing.
we were trying to figure out another good episode that we could do, and it just hit me. I was like, what have been some of your favorite memories out shooting?
Dude, I've got a lot.
I mean, I do too.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like, you know, just choose only some.
Mm-hmm.
But this would be just a fun episode. You know, it's like you mentioned, like we haven't actually done a ton of like storytelling
Yeah.
on this show. It's been a lot of other things, and so like this would be a good like intro to that in a way. So you guys listening, watching at home will get to hear some of the backstory, like some of our favorite trips and memories that we've gotten to have on this entire adventure that we've been on in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And just for us, it's casual, relaxed, and it'll be a good time.
Yep.
So
Yep, it is.
So I'm going to hand it off to you first.
Okay.
Why don't you share with us one of your favorite times that you've been out shooting?
Are we going most favorite, or are we not starting there?
I'm going to let you choose.
You know what? I don't think I'm going to go most favorite. I think I'm going to start. Maybe we'll just kind of go through the year. I don't know. You know, there's a lot. We did a lot of stuff.
We did.
Last year.
2022 was wild.
It was insane, yeah. And it's honestly, it's hard to. We were trying to narrow this down to maybe our top 3 or top 4 times out shooting, and it just.
I have like 8.
Yeah, same 8, 9. Like it just started piling up really fast, and I'm sure if I thought harder, I could think of more. But I think my first one that I'm going to talk about is my experience at Abiqua Falls.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I know you kind of are,
salty about this.
You've got
one.
a little salty, jealous rage about this. But
It's funny. I wasn't even anticipating this.
yeah.
It didn't even come to mind.
Well, that's why I said.
And,
I was
and
like,
you said, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense, but I hate that you're going to bring this up again.
Yeah, and you'll hear probably why here in just a second. But so Abiqua Falls, big waterfall in Oregon, pretty tricky to get to. But I went there on a trip to Oregon for about 10 days back in February to March of last year. So pretty much exactly a year ago. And I went out there with my good friend Bryce Doherty. And we drove out there. He flew in. So long story short, he flew into Utah. He's from Illinois. He flew into Utah on a, I believe it was a Monday. Flew into Utah on a Monday. Stayed with me while I worked some days in the week because I didn't want to use all my time off on this trip, but he still wanted to come out here. So came in on Monday, stayed at my place for a couple days, had a little rental car and stuff, and him and his girlfriend who also came out here, they went and did a few things, and I think on Wednesday, we left Salt Lake City and drove out to Oregon. Took us it's a 15-hour drive, so took a little bit to get out there. I gotta sneeze, kind of, as usual.
Just ruining the flow. I mean, you had me hooked, and now these sneezes just doesn't work for me, man.
I know. Oh, okay, we're good. So, go out to Oregon. We stop at the southern point of Oregon, Samuel H. Boardman area. Checked it out. Was there for a few days. Super cool place. Drove up north, and one of our main spots that we were going to was Abiqua Falls. And the day before, or I think the day of that we went to Abiqua Falls, we woke up in the morning, and it had been sunny and really nice weather for 2 days. And then on the third day, the day that we were going to drive out to Abiqua Falls, it started raining. This big storm came in. The storm didn't let up for another week, so it just hung around. But yeah, it started raining real bad. Storm, it's Oregon, rains all the time. And we get out to where Abiqua Falls is. We drive down to the start of the trailhead. We start hiking down. It's all muddy. It's super rainy. We're getting soaked to the bone. And we remember this is in February. So, and it had somewhat freshly snowed in Oregon. I mean, it wasn't like, it was probably, 3 or 4 days prior to us being there. So there were little bits of frost and snow still on the ground. But we get down into the canyon, and this is one of the first times that I had ever really seen you get a lot of these kind of stringy, mossy-looking trees in Oregon. This is the first time I had ever seen anything like that. So immediately it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I all of a sudden had walked into another world. A lot of the same feelings that I get when I got to southern Utah, I got when I was here. And just these trees alone, I was like, this is something I had never experienced before in my life. And we go and we walk through along the side of the river, and we go around the corner. And there's Abiqua Falls. And I don't know how tall Abiqua Falls is, but how tall would you say? Like,
I don't know, 30 feet?
30, 40, something like that?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It's a good-sized waterfall.
Just an estimate.
Yeah. And I feel like it might be a little bit taller, maybe closer to 50, 60. I don't know exactly, but it's a big waterfall. And we come around the corner, and there is, I don't even know, there is so much water coming off of this waterfall. I can't, it was so loud. It's the loudest, most powerful waterfall I've ever seen in my life. And if you don't know Abiqua Falls, it kind of sits in this bowl, that's been carved out by the water. And there's all these like kind of cylindrical kind of shapes in the wall that kind of look like octagons, almost like they're really crazy looking. They almost look like stuff you see in Iceland. And those walls are covered in ice, and the waterfall's pounding down. It's blowing mist everywhere. We're 100 feet from the waterfall, and we're getting blasted by the power of the waterfall. It's insane. It's so loud. We can barely talk to each other. And it's raining. It's also like kind of snowing. So it was just like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, I don't have words. There have not been many times in my life where, and I see somebody's a little jealous. It's okay. You've been to places that I haven't been to that I've been like, dude.
Yeah.
You've got some spots. So.
Yeah, but it's a little different when it's the same spot and you have the most majestic conditions you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
And then I have my experience.
Which I think it's worth talking about your experience.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's amazing. It's like, I don't even know how this magical, like, fantasy land even exists on Earth. Like, it feels like, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say I've never been more giddy in my life about a location, but then we would find out about 4 months later that there was something that would top it, which we'll talk about later in this episode. But that was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. And it was so cool getting to share that with Bryce, who's become such a good friend of mine. He comes out here every 6 months or so, and we go on a little trip and whatnot, and super fun getting to hang out with him. And yeah, that was a super cool experience. What's funny about it too is I don't know that I think this was one of the first times that I'd ever had experience like this where I didn't go crazy with photos. Like, I got photos there, but I didn't, like, the next spot we'll talk about, the one that I think tops this, like, I went wild with photos. But I had the same kind of feeling at Abiqua Falls as I did the other spot. But Abiqua Falls, I didn't really go crazy with photos. I was just so like, what is this place? Like, this is amazing. I was so in awe of the location. I was like, I'll try to get some photos, but I can't even focus on the photos because I'm so excited about everything that's going on here. So it was just perfect combination of conditions and location and time of year. And yeah, it was amazing. It's one of my favorite experiences from last year.
And then there's my experience
and then there's yours, which I kind of feel bad about. Honestly, like, it really, when you told me about it, I was like really bummed because I was so excited for you to go have that same experience. Like, I was like, yes, he's gonna go finally experience the same thing that I did, and he's gonna have the exact same feelings, and we're gonna be able to share that, and you didn't at all, and I kind of felt bad about it.
Yeah, it was, I guess, to put it most bluntly, the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it's just,
It was one of the most terrifying nightmares I've ever heard of
just,
somebody having.
I mean, yeah, it was a comedy,
Yeah.
is what it was. You know, I had gone up to Oregon for like a week-long road trip. When was this? End of September 2022 with my girlfriend. And Abiqua Falls is one of our stops. And I came in and thinking, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I've saw Chandler's experience of this.
Yeah.
I'm preparing myself for the moment
Yeah.
that I'm going to have down there.
Abiqua Falls was in my profile picture on Instagram for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
all over the place.
Like, I'm ready for a spiritual experience.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe what I
And
had.
boy, did I get one.
Oh, yeah, you did.
So, you know, going into this, I didn't. And it's funny because this is like, I didn't actually have it on my list, but this is one of my favorite memories of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, like, you know, not that I took a bunch of photos, but like, those photos all suck,
Yeah.
as you'll find out. But like, it's still one of my favorite memories.
Mm-hmm.
And so going into the trip, I really didn't like research this a ton because you told me everything about it.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that going in, you know, you end up going down the trail. There's a rope that helps you get down a steeper section.
Yeah, it's somewhat, you know, it's short, but it's somewhat intense.
Yeah,
So,
like I knew there's a rope that's going to help you out to get down. It's a long little creek, and you just walk back, and it's in this little bowl. I knew what I thought was everything about it.
Yeah.
So we get there, and it's, you know, late summer, so it's not like cold. It's not like crazy warm. It's comfortable, very comfortable, and
It's almost the exact opposite time of year that I was there.
Yeah.
So,
and so we start down the trail, and it's me, my girlfriend, and her dog, and it was a little mini golden doodle, so about 30 pounds, and we start down the trail. We get to the spot where we're like, oh, it looks really steep. Like, I know it looks a little more than I thought it was going to be, but it's doable. Like, we could do it. And so we just start going down towards the rope section. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, yeah, this is the way we need to be going.
mm-hmm.
So, you know, right before we get to like the rope itself, there is, you know, where one of us steps on like a hornet's nest, whatever type of bee burrows in the ground or whatever.
Yeah.
We kick one of those up. So now we're on the edge of what is basically a big cliff with a narrow trail. I mean, it's a 30, 40-foot drop. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Just down a hill. And, like, there's not much room for error.
Yeah.
And now we have bees attacking us.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming after me. They're coming after my girlfriend. They start getting after the dog. And my girlfriend loved her dog very much.
Yeah.
And so once the bees started getting after the dog, she started freaking out.
Yeah.
So it's bedlam, all that. And so eventually it gets to the point, you know, my girlfriend slips. She gets mud up. She cuts herself. She's bleeding a little bit, getting stung. I pick the dog up to try and move a little faster. So now I got the dog in my arms. And it's not a tiny dog. It's not a huge dog, but it's
It's good 35 pounds or so.
it takes up both my arms, you know?
Yeah.
And once I pick this thing up, the bees start getting me in my sides. And both my arms are, you know, busy
Yeah.
holding the dog. So I literally can't, I'm just taking it. Like, just sting after sting. I'm just like getting just destroyed by these
Yeah.
bees. You know, we get down like a little lower. Eventually kind of get past that section. Get the dog back on the ground. You know, we see like the dog got stung like on its eyes, like right in between. It's starting to get a little swollen. Again, girlfriend's freaking out because of all this. And I'm right there thinking, I'm like, what am I going to do about this? I mean, it was just
Chaos.
chaos.
Yeah.
And so we're now at the rope section, and we had brought a little backpack for the dog to at least especially help with like that portion. So I go down initially first, just put my backpack, my camera bag down at the bottom, come back up, get the dog on my back so my girlfriend doesn't have to do it. She can just go down a little easier. Right before we start going down, she's trying to put like her phone in little backpack she had and a water bottle. And I was like, oh, just give me I'll put your phone in my pocket. So do that. And I kid you not, 15, 20 seconds right after that, she drops the bag and the bag goes tumbling down the hill. And you just hear boing, boing, boing because the water bottle is just hitting rocks or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, thankfully your phone wasn't in that bag.
Yeah.
So that's all the way at the bottom now. So we get down, whatever, get to the river. We have to walk a quarter mile through this river, the creek. Like now we're not only muddy from all the antics before, but now we're just soaking wet. My boots, my waterproof boots are all just filled with water. I think I had sweatpants on at the time. They're just soaked.
Yeah.
So now we're just soaked, muddy, all this stuff. We get around to the final corner. I'm like, oh, it's right there. I'm stoked for this.
Yeah.
Like this is my moment.
Yeah.
And it's a trickle.
It's a little tiny stream.
There's like no water that's coming off of this waterfall.
Yeah.
And, I should have figured because it's late September.
Yeah.
But there's basically nothing.
Yeah.
It's the saddest waterfall I've ever seen. And when I've seen your stuff and it's just this epic, majestic scene, I'm like,
You almost think you're in the wrong place.
yeah. And so then we walk up to like the little pool that was there, and there's 4 guys there, and we start chatting with them. And as we come up, they see we're dirty, muddy. We got dirt on our face and everything. We literally looked like we had been through a war zone.
Yeah.
And we just walked down this trail. So the first thing those guys say to us, and it turns out they were actually Mormon missionaries, ironically enough.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, I leave Utah, go all the way up to like, Central Oregon, meet some Mormons.
Yep. You find our people.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
My people.
But the first thing they say to us is like, wow, you guys look like you've been through something. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, we have. And they're like, well, did you take the easy way or the hard way? And I was like, there's an easy way. and it turns out that there's 2 different ways you can go.
Yeah.
Both of them have ropes, which again, because I knew there was a rope, I just figured we were on the right path.
Yeah.
The other way had a rope too.
Yeah.
And we went back up that way. Sure enough, a piece of cake.
Yep.
I mean, the entire experience was something that, one, I'll never forget, but was the complete opposite of what you had.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because, I remember your girlfriend was like, why didn't you know about all this stuff? And it's like,
and I was like, I thought I knew everything to know.
I thought I knew everything too, but it's like, when I was there in the winter, the bees weren't active.
Yeah.
It's winter. And then it's funny because we had got to the top of the trail the hard trail that you guys did go down. But when we got to the top of it, we were like, I don't know about this. It was all rainy and muddy. We're like, I don't know. There's got to be a different way. There has to be. Like, we've seen pictures of it. This doesn't look like it's it. So we backed up. We actually ended up finding the easier way. And so, we almost... It's so funny just how opposite of experiences we had. So,
I mean, it was, again, simultaneously, an amazing moment to have, through that whole thing, but also just, the worst moment.
Yeah. There is a kind of a funny lesson to be taken from here, too, in terms of, when you're...
The lesson is to check all trails before you do a trail to see that every review mentions the bees.
Yes, yep. There is that. So, there's that, and then there's also, if you're going to a location, be mindful of the time of year that you're going, because you were going based on, the winter time, facts about this place in the wintertime, things that you need to know about the wintertime in Oregon. And you took those into summer without really realizing that, I don't know, we're used to the desert. There's not that much of a difference,
Yeah.
It's all typically the same.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, rookie mistake. But
yeah, so, it's kind of funny. We have opposite stories of the same place.
Yeah.
And
then Scott went, a few weeks ago and had the exact same
I swear,
experience I did.
literally everyone goes, and I see it, I'm like, come on. I wanted a sliver of that.
You'll get your chance one day.
It's just... It sucks. But yeah, so there's a Be Equal Falls for everyone. I actually wasn't anticipating telling that story, but
yeah,
that's good.
Yep.
So we'll move on to one of my favorites, and it's a little more low key. I guess it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
But it's actually from, I believe, late 2021, and this story is with our friends Road Dog and Cody Updike. So
Oh yeah.
there's a morning we went up to Brighton, up in Big Cottonwood, to the Silver Lake area in the winter. And we walked behind like where the lake was, and unbeknownst to us, we really shouldn't have been back there, I guess, because it's just like a cross-country skiing thing in the winter, and they don't want you walking on the path. So, but we were kind of off in the woods. We weren't like where people are actually truly skiing. But we spent the morning just like hanging out.
Yeah.
You know, we were on like the docks in the back, and it was just like an amazing morning
Yeah.
to share with those two guys. You know, we got our drones out early, and this was before like ski season, like big ski season had started because like the resorts wasn't open yet.
Yeah.
But we're just like sitting on the dock. It's freezing cold, you know, just flying our drones, having fun, just enjoying each other's company, really.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a ton of amazing photos from that day, but like then we walked around like the wooded area, and we're just taking like portraits of each other and having just a fun time. Like I have a fun photo of Cody like jumping up in the air
Yeah.
like this. I got one of my favorite shots of Road Dogg ever. Like he's like looking at the camera, like his hair is like wavy in a certain way. It's a unique look to a photo.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even like truly intending on, but like it's my favorite shot of him. I think he looks cool in it.
It's a good shot. Yeah.
And then, you know, Cody, being the weirdo that he is,
I forgot about this.
he's into like murder mystery stuff,
Yeah.
you know? And so he wanted to take like a murder photo. So he had me walk out onto the frozen lake, you know, get down on my knees, and Road Dogg came behind me and pretended to basically kill me. And then I like, you know, fell over onto the ice like on my side, and Road Dogg like walked back like, you know, epically like he's a mobster or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, like Cody was like, yeah, it's like a Fargo type of shot. Like, and it's like to me, I'm like, yeah, dude, this is like awesome, you know. And it's like, you know, it was like the weirdest shoot I've ever been a part of, but like that whole morning with those two guys was just, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's fun.
You know, and it's just, it's for me, like a lot of my memories are just people based.
Yeah.
It's like, it's being out there with those guys. And it's like just being able to hold on to that for forever.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Cody's out in New York now, but like when he comes back, you know that conversation's coming back up.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to tell that story.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, to me, that's what it's all about. It's like, that's just, it's a quick little story to share with everyone. That wasn't something epic, crazy that we did. It's just like, I mean, that was 30 minutes from our house.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was local. And just one of my favorite mornings we've ever gotten to share with someone. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I miss Cody.
yeah, I miss Cody. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. So,
Before we go on to the next round of stories, let's reset the camera real quick.
let's do.
Yeah, that one's good. You got the big boy out.
Yep.
Okay, you got another one for us.
I do. Yes. So, I was going to tell a different version of the story, but there's kind of a lot of. So we did a trip down to kind of the Utah-Arizona border area with a ton of people, and there are different points on this trip where we several of us kind of split off, and some of us did our own things, and so I have like 3 or 4 different stories from this trip that I love. It's hard to really pick one. You know, there's one story where me and Taylor Dalton went out to go shoot astrophotography. We left camp in the middle of the night. We just took our sleeping bags and we went and climbed some hill, set up our cameras, and while we were taking time lapses and stuff, we just climbed out our sleeping bags and took a nap for 30 minutes. And middle of the night, it's in April, it's cold, it's like 30 degrees, and we're just hanging out. You know, just me and Taylor all night long, sitting on top of a mountain. So like there's that, and then the following night, we had moved locations, across the border into Arizona, and we had been shooting all day long. And super fun. We had a big group out here, like 15, 16 people or so. And I mean, that was super fun getting to run around this spot. We had a really cool sky that night, and everybody was trying to get compositions, and it was a blast. A lot of fun. But that night, we had set up a fire, and we were all sitting around the fire just chatting and stuff and eating and just hanging out. And it kind of got to be time where the Milky Way was starting to come out, but it wasn't quite out because it was kind of cloud cover. And we ended up just going out to shoot anyways. We're like, I don't know, we'll figure something out. So we took some drones out. And I know you have a story that's kind of like this, but we took a drone out. It was me, Taylor Dalton, Joe Milk, Ben Thayer, Derek Aldana, and then I think that may have been all. I feel like there was one other person there, but I can't think of who it was. But we all went out. We were trying to do this like light painting stuff with this drone, and it was just pure insanity. Like Derek was flying the drone in wild circles and stuff, and we're all like yelling at Derek to like just fly it straighter, fly it more curvy. Like we're screaming at him, he's screaming back at us. We're all trying to get shots. Nobody really got any shots that were like actually like super good, except for Joe Milk, of course, because
he's a stud.
Because he's a stellar photographer. The other guy, they made it work. I kind of gave up on the ones that I got, but it was just such a wild, fun night. There, Taylor got a couple videos of it and stuff, and everybody's just screaming at each other, and not like because we're mad. We're just like we're dying. We're laughing so hard because it's just this drone. Like it has a light strap to the bottom of it, so like none of the sensors are working. So it's like almost hitting rocks and stuff, and it's just pure chaos in the middle of the night. But it was one of the funnest nights of my life, and I don't know. I just that group of guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we do stuff with. It's just so much fun, And like, I didn't get any shots that night. I left that night without any photos that like I liked or were even usable. But it was still one of my favorite nights of the year. Like, it was so much fun. So
yeah, I remember you guys going on that trip. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was in Moab.
I was saying, I think you were on another trip. Yeah.
But yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. Great group. I mean, I know all those people now.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I hadn't met a couple of them still, but now that I know, everyone's like, that would have been a lot of fun.
It was a blast,
for sure. So, yeah, bummed I missed out on that one. But so you had kind of teased a story that I was going to share.
Yeah.
And that is a story that I have with Joe Milk. And again, Road Dog.
Yeah.
Road Dog apparently is in all my best stories.
Only the best people for the best stories.
Dude, he's just the man.
Yeah.
Love that dude. But we took a trip out to Flaming Gorge, which is in northeastern Utah. Just the three of us. We decided we're going to go out there for a weekend. We get to the spot that we were camping at, and I had arrived a little before they did, so I'm just kind of hanging out. Then we go around sunset. We go shoot like the main like bend in the canyon that's there. I forget things, Red Canyon maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just there for sunset. And we're all flying our drones. Jordan ends up flying his drone straight into a tree. And it's just sitting up there, 20 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Well, he climbs a tree to go get it. We're on the edge of basically this cliff.
Yeah.
And he is suddenly 20 feet up in the air in this tree to go retrieve his drone.
I think I vaguely remember you telling me about this, actually. I forgot about it.
He just flew it right in there, and then he's like, oh, I guess I'm going to go get it.
Never done that before.
He just scales up this tree, and it's not like an easy tree. It's like fairly tight. It's a pine tree. There's a bunch of branches coming off it, and he just has to figure out a way up.
He's a little guy, so
yeah. He just goes up and gets it. One of the stories of the trip, and then, the next morning we all hop in my car to go to a sunrise spot. We're leaving camp, and we're driving slow along the road. It's dark out, and I'm like, well, I wonder what this area looks like around us. So I turn on my ditch lights. A sea of eyes appears around us.
Oh my gosh.
We were in the middle of an entire herd of elk. And when I turn those lights on, they're all just like
Oh my
like
gosh.
staring at us. And
Oh,
it's like,
that's-
whoa, hello, guys.
That is horrifying.
You know, like they're just right there.
Yeah.
And had I never turned my ditch lights on, I never would have seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going slow enough, so it wasn't gonna matter. Like, it wasn't gonna really do anything. But,
Yeah.
but like that was crazy.
Yeah.
And then we leave after that day. We decided we want to go to like somewhere in like I guess maybe like central Wyoming, sort of. And so we're like, oh, there's some sand dunes here. We're gonna go up there. We're driving up there, and we end up, on this trail that feels like it's in the middle of nowhere, and we see this big rock in the distance. And I'm not talking like just like
A rock.
it's like this massive thing.
It's like a monolith.
You can see it from 25 miles away.
Yeah.
And and I radioed the guys. I was like, "Hey guys, what's that?" Like we had no idea what this was, and
Yeah.
I was like, "We're stopping, right?" Like we're gonna check that out. And
gosh.
so sure enough, we go and check it out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
We ended up camping there later that night, and then night comes. We're camping at this place, and we decided we want to try do some light painting with the drone. But we don't have like the right light that you normally use when you do that with the drone.
Yeah.
We only have like my little aperture like mini lights,
Yeah.
and there's no way to like attach it to this drone. So being the bright engineers that we are, I have half a semester of engineering under my belt. Being the bright engineers we were, we devised a harness for this light out of duct tape that we would duct tape to Jordan's drone. And this thing didn't look professional whatsoever,
Yeah.
but it got the light on there.
Yeah.
So we used it. We took off. He starts flying, and we don't know if it's because like the weight of the light or something, but like it just wasn't gonna work, and you couldn't really see like the rock at all because it was just too big and too dark. Like there's
Yeah.
no way to get all of it lit up. And so we're like, yeah, I guess we can't really do this. So let's just bring the drone down. The drone's however high up in the air, 100 feet. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Jordan's like, it's not coming down. And we're like, what do you mean it's not coming down? He's like, it's not coming down. Like he's trying. He's
Yeah.
pulling the stick down, but it's
not going.
It's just hovering.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, that's strange.
Yeah.
Little did we know that the way we attached the light blocks the sensor on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so this thing is basically the thing I can't go lower.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I'm just gonna stay here. And now we're like, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
We can't get the drone down. And it's like the only option we have is to let the battery die.
Yeah.
So we just it's just sitting up there for a long time. We're keeping an eye out and everything. And the more we move, the faster the battery drains and stuff. And so we're at the bottom waiting for this drone to die and just fall out of the sky in the middle of the night, mind you. The only thing we can see is just the light that's attached to this thing.
Yeah.
So we have a general idea of where this is. And because we thought this was going to fall, me and Road Dog, we pulled a blanket. I think it was maybe his blanket. Maybe it was mine, actually. We pulled the blanket out, and we were like going to try to catch this thing in the blanket, like, you imagine like I think like firemen do,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
jumping
yeah.
out windows.
Yeah.
We got it held on every corner, like stretching it out, and Jordan's flying this thing, try to keep it around us, over us.
Yeah.
And it's just moving all over the place. And because of that, me and Road Dog are running around like idiots with this blanket, like over here. Oh no, this way, this way, this way. In the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, me and Road Dog are doing this.
Yeah.
We can't even like look at the ground. It's dark. We don't know like what's on the ground. We could easily trip over something.
Yeah.
We're running around like our camp, our cars and stuff to get in position where this drone is. And
Yeah.
we're doing this for like 10 minutes,
Oh my god.
And eventually this drone just starts lowering and lowering because it's like losing battery.
Yeah.
And then we realize like, okay, this thing's not just going to fall out of the sky. It
Yeah.
gets low enough, Jordan can get it and everything.
Ah.
But like, that's like, you had to be there.
Yeah.
To like really just see, like, to feel what it was like in that moment, like how funny that would have been.
It would have been hysterical just to watch it.
That's
just
what,
as a bystander.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Like if somebody's watching you from the distance, like what are these guys doing?
Yeah, like we were young. We're like, oh, this way, no, this way, no. Like it was just one of the funniest things that's ever happened. We've been out like that.
That's hilarious.
And again, to be able to share it with like those two guys, like good friends,
Yeah.
it's just so hard to beat something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I got good photos from that trip, but like, again, when I think about that trip, I don't think about the photos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think about the rock. I think about those two guys and what we did and the fun we had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good one.
yeah, it's just, it's, I think the whole thing about, why we did this episode is like, you can come away from all these experiences with stories that are so much more meaningful to you than any photo you're ever going to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then again, like to share these with other people, and like Jordan is a great example. I've done a number of things with Jordan, and like every time we're out with him, it's just like, dude, I love being out with you, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's just always a good time.
He's a good dude.
And like you just get all these stories, these experiences, like under your belt together, and like no words need to be said, but you just know like you're bros.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get to see Jordan all that often because he lives an hour north of us.
Yeah.
But like, he's just a homie.
Yeah, he is.
And it's like, he's a close friend of ours. And it's because of those moments that you get to share out in the road in the middle of nowhere, trying to catch your drone from falling out of the sky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think, man. There's just a lot. Just trying to decide,
You want to do one more each? We're at like 30 minutes now, a little over 30 minutes. We can go one more each if you want.
I kind of got two I want to talk about, actually.
Well, we can do another episode of this.
Oh, boy.
Let's cut into 2 episodes. Let's
Should
do
we?
one more each.
Okay, let's
And
do
then
it.
we can do another episode another time.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to throw a little curveball at you,
Let's hear it.
and I'm not going to do what you think I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to save that one for the next episode.
I'm going to save that one for the
That's
next
a good
episode.
idea.
Yeah. So, here's the one that I'm really wanting to share. So, it's another trip with Bryce that happened this year.
Dude, Bryce is like your road dog.
He is, yeah. He's my buddy. He's my homie. So this trip it's funny because it's like a half failed trip. It's a half disaster and a half like not disaster.
Okay, before we go any further, as I don't want to make this story a disaster,
Yeah,
can I reset the camera?
you can.
Just, that way we don't interrupt the story.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
So, half disaster, half not disaster. That's the perfect way to sum up this trip. So, back in September, beginning of September, Bryce Doherty comes back out. And I go pick him up from the airport, bring him back to the house, and we are packing and we're ready to go to the Tetons. And we're going to go spend a weekend up in the Grand Teton National Park. So we get all packed up, we hit the road, and 5 hours later or so, we show up in Tetons, and we shoot that night. It's amazing. Sunset's awesome. One of the coolest sunsets I've seen in a long time. Some of my favorite photos I got that night. And it was just me and Bryce on this trip. Like it was just solo. We had intentions of meeting up with Taylor Dalton because he was living up there at the time, and we did end up seeing him a couple times, but we didn't end up getting to shoot with him, unfortunately. But here's why. So we got done shooting, and I think we were just so focused on getting up there and just shooting that we didn't really do much. We thought we would just kind of wing it because I think that's maybe just what I'm used to because we've been so good at doing that in when we go to Southern Utah just because we know the area so well. It's like we can kind of put together a plan and at least I feel like I can and I can get away with it.
Yeah, you got a little cocky for this one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and so we get up there and we realize that. So, little backstory: when Bryce and I went to Oregon, we just mostly stayed in motels. Not mostly. We just stayed in really, really cheap motels, like $50, $60 a night motels. We just split it. Super easy. It's a little bit tricky to find BLM camping spots in Oregon. They exist, but we were like, let's just make it easy and just get motels. So we were God, kind of planning on just doing that up here. Like, I didn't have a working tent. It had broke like maybe 3 or 4 months earlier, and I just sleep in the back of my car. So it's like I don't really have like a functioning tent. And then, when Bryce didn't have like a lot of super warm stuff for spending the night up there and everything, and we got up there and we started like, all right, we're done shooting. Let's find a motel. There is not a single motel under like $300 a night. We're like, we can't do that. Like, what are we gonna do? We can't find anything.
You could cuddle in the back of your car.
We did kind of. We're like, well, we could sleep here, stay in the back seat, but we were planning on doing like the Delta Lake hike the next morning. We were like, do we go do that hike after sleeping in the front seats of my car? Like, I don't like, we're not going to get good sleep if we do that, and it's also supposed to drop to like 30 degrees, and we're not totally prepared for that. So we were like, we don't know what the heck we're supposed to do. And it kind of ruined a good chunk of the trip because we had to end up driving, I don't know, maybe an hour away to find a cheaper hotel. It still wasn't like totally cheap, but it wasn't $300 a night, And for some reason, we just didn't anticipate, and obviously we should have thought about this, but didn't anticipate the hotels in Jackson being so dang expensive. We thought there would be cheap options like there are in Oregon or in southern Utah, but not in Jackson. So we ended up having to drive a bit, find a cheaper hotel, and then we got this hotel like 11:30 at night, and we were just like, I don't think we're gonna really push sunrise for Delta Lake, because at that point, if we were gonna do it, we were gonna have to be up in like 2 or 3 hours to drive back out there. So we were like, it's been a long day. We've been driving for like 6.5 hours today, so let's just call it. Unfortunately, I really wanted to do the Delta Lake hike because you had just done it like recently, and I was all pumped about it. I was like, this is gonna be super cool. Bryce was wanting to do it. We both were that's what we went to the Tetons to do, was to do Delta Lake, and it wasn't able to happen. We did end up, we stayed the night at the hotel. We went back out to the Tetons the next day. We didn't make it for sunrise or anything. We just took it easy. And then we spent the whole day in the Tetons, which was super cool. We went and hiked around Jenny Lake a little bit and saw the main spots, and we got to see, the general full area of the park. And it was super cool. And then we shot sunset there and just hung out. Sunset was, as far as photos go, wasn't anything like super crazy. So we just kind of, I don't know, enjoyed ourselves, I guess. And then we decided to just drive back home for the next, just make it back home so we didn't have to buy another hotel room. So we drove home that night from the Tetons, made it home at like 1:32 in the morning. And then we woke up the next morning, I don't know, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And we were like, we don't know what to do. Like, what are we going to do? Like, Bryce still has like 2 days here. Like, we don't want to just sit around. And Bryce was like, I really want to go back to southern Utah. Because it had been about, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years since Bryce had been on our first trip to southern Utah. So he's like, I kind of want to go back. We were like, should we just go back? So we packed up and left for southern Utah that same day. Like an hour later, we were back on the road. And, and then same thing, we ended up bringing the tent just to see if we can make something work. It wasn't going to work. But luckily that night in southern Utah, it was like, I don't know, a little bit warmer. It was like 45 degrees, 50 degrees, pretty mild conditions. Full moon was out, so it was super bright. We got down, we shot a little bit before sunset. Sunset was kind of a bust. It's no color in the sky. It's super cloudy. But we got to our spot where we were camping and tried setting up the tent. And we're like, oh, crap, I don't know. Like, what are we going to do? Like, tent's not working. And I was like, let's just sleep under the stars. Like, that's fine. Like, that's easy. Bryce was like, I'm not sleeping under the stars. I was like, dude, why? It's not that big of a deal. He's like, I've never done that before. He's like, what if the mice get me? Because there had been a little mouse. We were shooting at this little overlook. And there was this little, like, field mouse that was running up. And just, like, he would run right up onto our feet. And, like, he would just sit and, like, stare at us. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had with a wild animal, but I don't know, maybe some people had fed up some food or something, and he was like, oh, people, food. And he was all nervous about the mouse, that I think he called Cecil. I don't remember. We had some weird name for it. And anyway, so I was like, dude, you trust me, we'll be fine. Like I've slept under the stars a bunch. It's a totally clear night. I mean, I guess it wasn't totally clear at that point. There was still some clouds in the sky, but like you could see everything that was going on because full moon, super bright, brightest full moon I've ever seen in my life. And he was like, all right, I'll take your word on this, you know? And we set up sleeping bags and everything, lay down to go to bed. And I am like trying to go to sleep, and I just hear him be like, dude, this is amazing. And like after all the lights had been shut off, I look over and he's like laying on his back. I have a picture. I took a picture of him, and he's got his sleeping bag all wrapped around his head, and he's just like staring up at the sky like, there's so many stars. He's like, I've never done this before. This is insane. And it was like so cool watching him have this experience for the first time. Because I don't know if you've ever really like slept just out under the stars before, but
No.
I've done it a billion times in my life. And I kind of forget how cool that is to do for the first time. Like it's not something that's like super unique to me just because I've done it a lot. And I don't know, it was really cool just watching him like just like take this all in, have this new experience and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. It was super cool. And I think that was one of his favorite parts of the trip, at least what he said, you know? Like he was just in awe. He's like, this is like, I can see so much, like, and everything's so bright. And next morning he was like, that was amazing. He's like, I'm so glad we did that. You know, he was like, I hope we can do that again. So that's maybe, you know, and the next day we shot a bunch down there, went and saw a bunch of other cool things that he hadn't seen before. And it's one of my favorite things is taking people around all these cool places down there that they've never seen before. Because it just, you know, and Bryce had been there before, but like there was still all these spots that he hadn't seen. And he was just in heaven again, you know, for the second time. You know, he's from
The Flatlands.
The Flatlands, yeah, Illinois. So like he's not out here. He's not seeing what Utah has to offer that often. And yeah, that's one of my favorite trips from the year. So we spent a lot of time in the car with Bryce. So
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is. We had a lot of really, really good conversations too. I mean, we probably spent a total of like 18 hours in the car together, just that trip, that weekend alone.
Yeah.
So, and that's not even, you know, and then there's
Yeah, because you went like 5-6 hours north, and then obviously came back, and then went like 4 or 5 hours south.
Yeah.
And then came back.
And then came back up. Yeah, exactly. So I spent a lot of time in the car with Bryce this year.
Yeah.
It's like 15 hours out to Oregon, then all throughout Oregon, and yeah.
Hey.
But anyways, that was one of my favorite trips of the year. It was kind of a disaster and kind of one of the coolest experiences too.
Yep. So I remember all that when it was happening.
Yeah. You were making so much fun of me about that Tetons thing too.
I was.
Which is well deserved. So
Yep. But so I got one more story, but just be safe. I'm going to reset cameras again.
yeah.
I think we're fine, but just to be safe, make sure we get to the end of the episode here. So with your story there, I'm going to now rub it in your face a little bit and talk about Delta Lake. Because
Do it. Well, I rubbed Abiqua Falls in your face, so honestly,
it's only fair that
it's
we
only
round
fair.
the episode out with this.
Exactly.
But that was just one of my favorite moments the whole year. And it's like, I mean, I didn't take like a ton of photos, you know, and not much different photos. I got a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 different comps, but like not much. And they're basically the same photo as it is. But being up there for sunrise was unreal.
Yeah.
And before I guess we get all the way up to the lake, let's start at camp. You know, me and my girlfriend woke up early. We started driving to the trailhead. You know, we get up 3 o'clock and we're driving on the road. It's dark out, can't see anything. I have my ditch lights on because it's dark. There's no one else around. I can do that. And I catch a little glimpse off on the right of my truck, you know, like 30, 40 feet off the road. And I can kind of tell, oh, there's an elk out there. I'll start slowing down a little bit just to be safe. And I kid you not, basically right after I had that thought in my head, a massive bull elk jumps out in front of me. And this thing, huge rack.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's massive. And he jumps out in front of me. And in my head, I'm like, well, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Right? So naturally, I start braking. And again, thankfully, there's no one else on the road because it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I can kind of swerve over into the other lane a little bit to help avoid the elk because he's coming this way. And so I swerve. And as I'm getting over, he's got a little more time to like rethink this idea of crossing the road.
Yeah.
And so he can kind of like stop himself and turn, which is what he did. I came within 3 feet of hitting that thing.
Nope.
And it's like,
nope.
That would have been a bummer.
Yeah.
So that's how I started my morning.
A little adrenaline.
Yeah,
rush.
I was awake after that.
Yeah.
So then we get to the trailhead. We met Scott Osborne and Courtney Hesseltine, two great friends of ours, at the trailhead, and we did the hike together up in the dark. We get to the top of the lake and everything right before sunset, like 5-10 minutes before the sun had like truly come up. That's sunrise, not sunset. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just setting up my camera in the spot, and sun comes up and hits the Grand Teton. And you get the most incredible alpenglow I've ever seen. I mean, up until that moment, I had never really like cared for the alpenglow. But like being up there with just the pristine, still blue lake with the Grand Teton lit up red is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like that's one of my favorite hikes I've ever done. And it's just like I can relive that entire moment and see it in my head. And it's something that never gets old. And just to be up there that morning in that scene, like that's something I would never trade.
Yeah.
Like nothing could get me to, give that up. And I'm so happy we did that. So grateful for that and that I got to spend it with good people. Like that's a bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things like that. For me, that's just one of the ones that sticks out the most because every sunrise is worth it. But like that one in particular, that location, Tetons are very near and dear to me. Like,
yeah.
They're not my number one park. They're my number two, but like it's a special place in my heart for the Tetons. And to be like there in that moment was truly special. And it's like, I wish everyone could do that.
Yeah.
And see that. And so it's that kind of moment. It's what you get when you do this.
Yeah.
When you're into this photography thing, you're out hiking, at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Trying to beat sunrise, getting up. And it's like, you get rewarded in ways like that.
Yeah.
And it's a special thing. And this episode's talking about special moments like that. Whether it's with people or in cool places, it doesn't matter. Like when you pursue these types of things, you just get some of the most incredible experiences you could, maybe not even have imagined.
Yeah.
Because 3 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be doing any of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a volleyball coach. Like, life was so different.
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm like, yep, I'm getting up at 3 a.m. to go hike up a mountain.
Yeah.
To beat the sun.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yep.
It's special. And it's fun to be able to share stories like this on the podcast. We'll put this out. Anyone could listen to this, watch this video, a year, 2 years from now, however long we keep it up. Like, it's out there.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of come along on a lot of these experiences with us. So it's fun to do an episode like this.
It is, yeah. And that's, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, that's one of my favorite reasons that's one of the reasons that I just love photography. It's one of my favorite things about it. Is it gives me an excuse and it gives me a good reason to get up and experience a lot of these moments, meet cool people, watch the sunrise. I haven't seen the sunrise on the Grand Teton, unfortunately, because of bad planning. But
Poor planning.
But I've seen it rise in a lot of other places, and places that are really awesome as well. And it's, I don't know, words can't totally explain it.
No.
Abiqua Falls, you can't really explain like that on the Grand Teton at Delta Lake. Like it's just,
yeah,
you have to be there to experience it.
You literally have moments where like no words would do it justice.
Yeah.
Like you're speechless.
Yep.
And it's, we're blessed to have that happen to us.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, And sunrises are amazing, and sunsets are just as good. And
Yep.
Every day there's a sunset, and you have a chance to go out and see it.
Yeah.
And it's like, may as well.
Yeah. I also love, and this is just one other little point, but I also love that, I appreciate a lot of little things more, like sunsets and sunrises, because of getting into photography and all this stuff.
100%.
Than maybe I used to. I've always appreciated like good sunsets and good sunrises, but like, I don't know. I notice every single one now. Every single day I think about the sunrise and the sunset, literally every single day of my life.
Yeah, they're like important moments for you in the day.
Yeah, they are. And I used to not really think about it, and there's a lot of people who just, they ignore it. They don't care. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I was driving home from work, and I was driving by Salt Lake City. It was cloudy, it was raining, snowing, and the sky opened up, and I don't know, it was like the freaking hand of God reached out from the clouds, and it was on fire. And I was like, what is happening? This red glow came out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, this is insane. Like, this is one of the craziest sunsets I've seen in months. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then I'm looking around on the freeway, and the freeway is packed with people, hundreds and hundreds of people driving on the freeway. And I started thinking to myself, how many other people are really appreciating this like I am? And I don't know, maybe everybody was. I don't know. But there's a chance that maybe not everybody was. Maybe most people were, driving home from their hard day of work, and they were just like, I just want to get home, and they don't think twice about this insane thing that's happening just to the west of them. So I don't know. All this stuff has just made me so grateful for all those little things like that. So
yeah, you learn to appreciate all the small things.
Yep.
And we at Bushwhackers have learned to appreciate you. And if you appreciate us in this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel.
That was smooth.
I'm getting the hang of this.
You're getting good at that, yeah.
But make sure you subscribe to our channel. We got tons of content we want to try to get out to you guys. We do our best to stay on top of this and keep producing. But we would appreciate it if you could do that for us, because it helps us out, pumps us up a little bit and helps our content grow and our channel grow. And, we get to meet new people and find new ideas to talk about. So please do that. Like the video, leave a comment, if you liked our stories, if you have a comment, especially anyone that we mentioned in this video.
Which is a lot of people.
Leave your version of the story in the comments. We love to hear that, you know, because we see it a certain way and we have our own kind of memory of it, but you guys have it differently. Cody, I want to hear your version of the murder photo.
Yeah.
Like, please, let's hear that.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's fun. And if you're one of these people who only likes to listen to audio and no video, we're on all major podcasting platforms as well. So please go check us out there too. But I think we're going to leave you there. We told some good stories today. We'll do another one of these because we have just tons of these stories.
Yeah.
But
Bushwhacker Storytime.
Yeah, Bushwhacker Storytime. So, all right, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.